Good morning, everybody. Thank you for those here and present in the auditorium. Mike, what? Turn a button on? I don't want to turn a button on. Did that work? Much better, right? Since I like to wander, I'll start over. Good morning. And good morning to all those at home watching on our TV channel. So we're here to talk about how well we are prepared for all types of disasters or emergencies that pop up. And that's why you are all very thankful for living with us and being here, because you have a whole staff and team of people that plan and talk about and do drills throughout the year for all types of different things that could happen to us in our village. So I added this last year to our slide presentation on here to talk a little bit about an active shooter. We don't always think about that. Somebody coming into our homes or coming into a Walmart or coming into a big box store or into a business, into a healthcare center and whatnot, and what would happen and how would you react to it. It is something that we practice. I talk about it with my staff at least once a year. What would they do in the different parts of our building that we work out of? Where would they go? Where's their escape route? Where would they hide? And what would they grab to defend themselves if it came back down to defending themselves in there? And again, one of these things, if we have the time or during it, we'd send out alert to everybody when anything like this would happen. Couple little things there is avoid, deny, defend. Kind of mentioned that all up front on it. And I have a short video that will play giving the scenario from the outside, looking at what an active shooter response would look like. I believe this is in a warehouse type setting.
There's a gunman inside the store. We need help now.
Do anything last weekend? It was very nice, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Excited about is the new system enhancement. What's going to be the solution by the time we...
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. I actually think he's got he's got a truck. I don't know if your daughter would be interested. Yeah, definitely. Now, she figured out what college she wants to go to?
911, what's your emergency? We need help. There's a gunman inside the store. He's shooting the place up. We need help now.
issues that we found... Okay, Emily, see what that is. See what's going on. Just let us know what you find out.
There's a man with a gun. He's right there.
Where's the wall? Lights. Lock it.
By county. There you go. You're safe for that.
There's a guy with a gun. He's shooting. Look.
James, we don't have
No, look.
Run! 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 To the right! To the right! To the loading dock! Come on, this way, this way, this way!
Oh, no, come here.
Yeah, in here, in here. The gunman's coming.
What are we gonna do?
We're gonna have to defend ourselves.
I can't do this.
You're gonna see your daughter tonight, okay? We are all going to go home tonight. All right? We have a right to defend ourselves. Get the gun! Get the gun! Hey! Hold him down, hold him down!
Gosh, I'm just so glad you're okay.
Yes, we're all gonna go home. Everybody's going home.
Yeah.
If you ever have the misfortune to be in an active shooter event, you deserve to survive. In our research, we have found that the actions that potential victims take during these events are critical to their survival. We have identified 3 options that have proven effective in many events. These are: avoid the attacker, deny the attacker access to your area, defend yourself. It is a personal decision, but you have a right to do so. Avoiding the attacker starts with being aware of your surroundings at all times and knowing what is going on around you. If you see or hear something that looks suspicious, take action. For example, the stalker took immediate and effective action to protect himself when he observed the shooter pulling out weapons from the bag. Others, however, hesitated, and this hesitation can cost them valuable time that they could have used to get away from the threat. If you hear something that is, or could be, gunfire, start trying to get away from it as soon as possible. Gunfire has a distinctive sound. Inside of buildings, the sound can be muffled or distorted. A single loud bang could be a person dropping something, or even thunder. But repeated loud bangs are much more likely to be gunfire. Additionally, look at the reaction of others. Are they startled or scared? Are they running? What are they saying? Any one of these events individually may create denial, but when put together should create a heightened awareness and stimulate an immediate response. It is important that you know how to get out. The situation will be chaotic and rapidly changing. In general, you will want to go to the nearest exit. But you must also understand that the closest exit may not be accessible or safe to use. If this is the case, go to a different exit. While avoiding the threat, consider the uses of cover and concealment. Cover offers protection from gunfire, while concealment minimizes your exposure to the attacker. Try to keep objects between you and the attacker. If you can't avoid the attacker, sometimes the best option will be to deny the attacker access to your location. In many locations, this can be accomplished by closing and locking a door, such as they did in the meeting room. Locking the door has proven effective in many attacks. If the door does not have a lock, You can place heavy objects in front of it. Remember, barricades work best if the door opens toward you. If it doesn't, use things that are readily available, such as straps, belts, or objects that can be used to block or secure the door to make it difficult for the attacker to enter the room. This may at least slow the attacker down and give you time to identify alternate means of escape, such as adjoining rooms or windows. When attempting to deny access to your location, you want to make it appear that there is no one in your area. Lock doors, turn off the lights, silence your phones, and get out of sight. Your attempt to deny the attacker access to your location might fail.
The gunman's coming.
What are we gonna do?
We're gonna have to defend ourselves.
Have a backup plan about what you will do. In many cases, this may be to defend yourself. You need to be in a place where you can act if the attacker comes into your location. In most rooms, you will line up against the same wall that the door is on, near the door so you can react, but not directly in front of it. If you are unable to avoid or deny, your best option may be to defend yourself by using whatever is available. In a situation where someone is attempting to kill you, you have the legal right to defend yourself. Attack weak spots such as eyes, throat, and groin. Fight to the best of your ability and do not quit until the attacker is stopped. This is what the workers in the warehouse did when they were unable to avoid the attacker and felt their lives were in immediate danger. Whatever option you choose, call 911 as soon as you are in a safe location. Provide any information that you know. The operator will ask you a lot of questions. If you don't know the answer, don't guess. Just say you don't know and only state the facts.
I'm not sure. There's 3 of us in the room. We're on the...
There's a guy with a gun, he's shooting.
This will be a complex situation, and we can't tell you what you should do in every case. What we can do is provide you with information about the options that we have found to be most effective for surviving these attacks. The ultimate choice is yours. What you do matters. Avoid the attacker. Deny access to your location. Defend yourself. Law enforcement will be entering a chaotic scene with limited information. Their first priority will be to stop the threat to your safety. The police may not know where or who the threat is. Listen and comply with their commands immediately.
Put it down, sir. Put it down. Both of you on the ground.
Police are trained to look at people's hands to assess threats. Do not have anything in your hands that could be perceived as a weapon, such as a cell phone.
Show me your hands, sir. Show me your hands. Move to us. Everybody, keep your hands up, please. Walk out the door.
If told to do so, stay where you are and do not make sudden movements. Again, follow all commands. Remember, what you do matters. Avoid the attacker. Deny access to your location. Defend yourself. Remember, ADD. You can survive.
Short little video on it. It's something that I present every 2 weeks to our new orientation staff when I do my presentation to them. So emergency disasters, we break it down into 2 different types of groups: natural disasters and human events. Natural disasters are what we most commonly have here in in the state of Florida, with windstorms, wildfires, floods, tornadoes, and damaging winds. Along with our hurricanes, we've had earthquakes recorded off the shore. Severe thunderstorms, I've been through some of them, that has caused major damage in our village, along with hail storms, which is part of the reason that we've been going through our re-roofing project. And extreme temperature that we're going to have over the weekend, forecasted at 97 degrees, I think, at some point in time over the weekend, with heat indexes of over 105. Human events, we just went through the short scenario. But other ones that you can see on the screen there is bomb threats, hostage, missing person, which we do that, elopement events and elopement drills here in our village for our healthcare centers. Something happening outside our village that would create disturbance and make us have to shelter in place. We are mainly a shelter-in-place community unless we're told by outside authorities that we need to move people or evacuate our areas. Equipment disasters, never had a power outage. Never had a generator fail. Water lines breaking, HVAC failure, communication system, phones, internet, or it's just compromised water. Here on property, we have several generators. We have a generator to back up our water plant. We are testing our water daily for our level of sanitation in our water systems. If our water plant or system fails, we have an emergency valve, backflow valve that we can interconnect with Orange City water system. And then we have agreements with vendors that we can get bottled water very quickly from them in large quantities if we need to. And another one that we've never been through here is boil water alerts. Just recently when Orange City had the main break out there, all of our residents that are serviced by Orange City got to go through a boil water alert for 48 to 72 hours. So this year, our hurricane season starts June 1st, as it does every year, and ends on November 30th. This is their forecast for the year. It's a slightly higher with the total number of named storms, and then it's up a little bit even on the categories. Remember, storms go everywhere. They are all 5 of those aren't headed to us, hopefully, of their forecast, and their forecast can get adjusted and changed anytime during the season as we go till the end of November. Is your name on the list this year? There's the list that they presented for the names this year. So, what do you all do to stay safe? What is it that you'll need to do to contact or talk to each other or talk to staff or management? And if you're away, how will you know when to get back to the village? And every situation is a little bit different. They're not always the same situation depending on what the storm is, what the velocity of the forecast for it is, and whatnot through every situation that we go through. And it's not just storms, it's every disaster that we go through. So communication systems are down. Keep a cell phone charged. Keep a cordless phone on there. Listen to the public valves for us that we put out to you during a storm or during a disaster of any type. We'll be communicating to you very regularly to keep you updated as far as what's going on and what is to be expected during what that situation is. There's different agencies that you can subscribe to, outside agencies, whether it's your news channel, favorite news channel that you watch, whether it's an emergency area that you can actually get signed up so you'll get alerts directly from them from an outside source. Always good to have some type of charger for your car to charge your cell phone or your computers or anything like that you can use the battery out of your car for it, on it. And then, again, we'll post things on our website and on our social media sites that we use for you to be able to see what's going on directly here in the village for anything that comes up. And then always going into a storm, cell phones are usually pretty reliable, so you could actually forward your home phone line to a cell phone line to be able to get anybody that might be calling on your landline. That's what we're doing today, talking about a plan. We do it as a staff members. We do this on a very regular basis. We run drills for all different types of plans. Healthcare has I think it's actually today, they're doing an active drill that they're doing community-wide today as part of their plans and requirements to get done. Talk about the supplies that you'll need on hand. Medicine is a very important thing to make sure you've got an adequate supply as we get forecasted or warned about something happening. And then what I call a to-go bag or to-go box or things like that. In fact, I was asked this year by the assisted living facility my mom's at to get a to-go bag set for her with the basic needs of things in it to have her ready in case they had to relocate or asked to move somewhere. Resident meetings. I know we go into staff meetings when we go into our typical storms or disasters. Mr. Trainer will call for the leadership team to get ready, and we'll go through everybody's group to make sure that we have all of our bases covered and have everything looked at and ready to go to handle. We can send out public printed distribution. We definitely will put out the village alert line information, the Knox TV, on the resident portal, or if we need to, we'll go door to door with security and staff helping to get communications out to everybody and make sure that you are very aware of what is needed. Family and friends, advise them to watch again. Our website page gets updated, our Facebook page gets updated during any type of thing that's going on, and they can look on there to find that out. We also start manning, if we get down into it, we man the front office, our main line, 24/7 when we're in the event of a disaster. It re-mentions the phones, and make sure that if you're leaving the village and going to relocate during a storm or disaster, that you make sure you inform security so that we know about that you're not in the village and we won't be worried. So that number of employees is about accurate at this moment for it. And we always work as a team and a culture through all of our different departments and all the different levels of management with what's going on. And we always follow the leadership of Mr. Trainer to notify us and making those decisions as to when we'll need to take certain actions and corrective actions during any type of situation. We are highly regulated in our healthcare situations for the state and county requirements, and we go through, again, different scenarios of storms, power outages, IT outages, and there is written plans in our healthcare systems to follow and react to, and who to contact, and who will be able to notify and bring in for any needed repairs or corrective actions after. All those things are reviewed and approved by the states and county levels. Flashlights and extra batteries. I'm a flashlight guy. I think I probably have said that once or twice. I have different flashlights at home. Have a couple up here in front of us. The lanterns are a great thing to have a couple in your home, so you can set one in the bathroom, your bedroom, kitchen. They're easy little pull-up lanterns. I recommend this type of flashlight very highly. It runs for a good long time and gives adequate light to move around in the dark. Weather radios, battery operated, hand cranked, solar powered. If you can find sunlight after it and we don't have power, it can keep a charge to be able to still hear news and the weather forecast out there. I have our typical strobe light up on the podium here, and then I have another strobe light that I'm looking at right now. The cost of the strobe light that we have been purchasing for several years has doubled in price, and so I was looking for alternatives for it. And then I have a bunch of the larger battery flashlights for our team to go out and about in the darkness and use to do the work they need to do during any type of disaster that's going over the nighttime. Again, to-go bags, simple things, towels, washcloth, essential toiletries, 2 to 3 changes of clothing, 1 week of medical supplies. For everybody that owns a pet, you should have some type of pet carrier to be able to put your pet in and transport them or keep them at a location that you go to that they would have to be contained in a certain area. And also don't forget your medications for your loved ones on 4 legs. Things that we have in the village to help take care of that. Our generator for this building is a portable generator that we hook up during the time of a disaster. We test all of our generators on a weekly basis. They run for either 30 minutes or they do a 2 or 4 hour full load test on those on a monthly basis to make sure they're running. And then we have outside contractors that come in quarterly and do the preventive maintenance on those generators every quarter throughout the year. Basics 3 times a year, and then once a year they do an annual testing where they actually hook up a full load battery bank or generator bank to put that generator under a full load test and stress and run that and give us a report that our generator needs work or that it is running fine and doesn't need that assistance. We keep sandbags stocked on pallets down in the maintenance area. We have a weather station out at Gatehouse 3. If you want information on that, anybody can sign on to that and see what that weather station is recording. Mention of flashlights and lanterns, and it'll come up here in the slide later, but candles, please do not use candles for lighting. And I got told by a resident on the way in that they're also a source that uses oxygen out of enclosed spaces. And we will bring in adequate staff to be able to handle and cover whatever event it is going on to make sure that we can continue to provide the services and the safekeeping of all of you throughout whatever emergency disaster that we end up going through. Joe always tells me I'm one of the first ones that calls him when I see a hurricane warning and start talking about what I do on my side of the world to make sure that we're ready for it. This year I've already topped off all the generators. We just went through our preventive maintenance for them. My mechanic has gone out and pulled out all of our small generators that we run the power to the gatehouses to, and then we have those things called lift stations on property for our sewer systems. So I have generators that I put at the lift stations to make sure that we can keep moving that liquid to and off property. And Orange City also has a large generator on the main lift station that actually takes our sewer system out of our village and down to their sewer plant. So those are all adequately covered. And then we also don't just think about it and what we're going to do during it. We think about making sure that we're able to have staff and people here to come and help us in whatever that disaster is and whatever happens to our village to bring us back to as normal as we can, as quickly as we can. I covered several of those. We look at trees on an annual basis. We bring in an outside arborist that he's been doing this for 6 or 7 years now, where he evaluates the trees every year. This year he recommended 23 trees to be removed from property that were in some state of decay or had a high likelihood of damaging something if it fell down and didn't have a longevity of life left to it. Every year he looks at that. He recommends limbs to be trimmed off in certain areas and whatnot. So that's one of our things that we do every year to make sure that we're safe. He also puts trees on the watch list so that they continue to be looked at the following year to make sure they haven't further, or how much further decay or need for that tree to actually be removed and replaced. And if you don't know, we also replace trees. In my time of being here, I have probably replanted somewhere close to 150, 160 trees back into the village over my time of being here with John Knox Village. We have a list of all of our high-prone areas that we actually will pre-distribute sandbags to throughout the village and have them ready to have put in place. Staff-wise, I have a meeting on June 5th with my entire team, and we'll be going through pretty much this presentation or talking about this slide and what we have to do to react. Every team members, as far as our procedures and policies, is required in procedures and policies to be here for their next working shift. We give accommodations to staff, and we use this building as a shelter in place for staff members so that they're able to be here on that next working shift. There are several of our departments, such as mine, that I split my team into two groups, an A and B team. Once we go into a lockdown or no more leaving or entering the village, that A team is here, and they bring in their blow-up mattresses, their pillows, all their rain gear, several changes of clothing. We typically would put them somewhere that will have a washing machine and a dryer so that when they do get wet, they're able to dry those clothes and get dry clothes back on them. But they will stay here during the entire event, and then once we're through it and we're able to call in the other side of our group to come in and help continue doing cleanup or whatever is needed to be done. And again, the bottom line there, we are a shelter-in-place community. And again, I mentioned, we stopped monitoring and looking at, and specifically hurricanes. I watch weather a whole lot. Over the weekend, we had some rainstorms throughout the county coming across. I live in northwest DeLand. I got 1.25 inches of rain Saturday, this past Saturday, where our village got 0.10 inches of rain. But I watched the cells going across and saw that we never got in the yellow and red cells on it, which always makes me kind of happy. And the best thing I've learned is to stay calm. You know, it's easy to get excited. It's easy to listen to the weather channels and they tell you the worst thing that's happening, which is a good thing. But again, thank goodness that you all live here at John Knox Village, because we have the plans, we have the knowledge, and we are dedicated to make sure that you stay safe in whatever scenario gets thrown at us. Mentioned earlier on in this, we will be a shelter-in-place community, and we only evacuate in the need being told by outside sources to evacuate, or if something happens to your unit, we will definitely relocate you to a safe place. Little note on there about refrigerators. When power goes out, try not to open them, but pre-hand, if you freeze some bottles of water and have the space in your refrigerator, just a gallon jug frozen of water down in your refrigerator, if you have a power outage, will help keep that cold. There's my do not use candles. And you'll hear me mention it all the time through here. Mentions, I know several residents, mainly in our villas, that have garages to keep them in, because that's where they're allowed with generators. You got to make sure that that gets set up adequately, away from your unit, away from your neighbor's unit. Make sure it's exhausting at least 15, 20 feet away from any window, because once power goes out, people have a tendency, if it's cool enough or they think it's cooler to have outside air coming in, to open a window. So we have to make sure that we keep yourself and everybody around you safe from any exhaust from a running generator. Strobe lights. I know last few weeks you've been getting valves about strobe lights, checking your batteries of your strobe light, locate your strobe light, check it to work. Some of the strobe lights I know may not have the light part, flashlight work on it. It's more important to me to make sure the strobe of it works than the flashlight. I hope everybody here owns flashlights. Again, I don't know how many I own. Way too many, as my wife would tell me. But make sure you have checked those. If you have one that you want us to look at, or you feel like it needs new batteries, just call down to the maintenance office and we'll gladly come take care of that for you. And we do have a few in the back if you're sitting here today and don't have one, couldn't locate it, if you did have one in the past. We do have some in the back that Geneva can have you sign out, and she can label it and put your address on it. So I'm kind of going to go through this. I know the different healthcare directors are talking about their areas, and our healthcare areas are really prepared to be able to take care of you all. I know I dealt with a resident recently here about oxygen, and our resident nurse is one of the first things they look at when we have a power outage in any area in the village at any time during the year. And when I call up to security or I get notified about a power outage, one of the first things I say to security is make sure a resident nurse checks this area for people that are on oxygen, to make sure that we're aware of it and make sure that you have portable tanks or whatever that is to be able to not have to have a power machine, CPAP machine running to supply you that oxygen, and have extra tanks that can be used without power. And always we will find a place to reshelter you if it is needed. Mentioned it earlier, double down on it, that we are regulated by the state and approved plans out there. Our special needs residents, our resident nurse has all the information, and they are look at that very closely and communicate directly to those people. Oak Park, they have things. They make sure they have the stock of medication on hand to be able to go through this. And we will go into an event and we will have a refrigerator located that if we need to store medications for residents, that it can get labeled and moved into one of our areas that has a generator for backup power and get that medicine under refrigeration. Every department here, every one of my coworkers, every one of my other managers, directors on property, we go through all of this, and we have the necessary means and the abilities to handle easily up to 7 to 10 days of supply and stock of whatever that is that we would need to take care of you as residents. I know we almost comes to the point where we keep the fitness center open and you can go still work out and do things in this building here. The Jaquez Center is not fully generated. It is only the necessary power in the Jaquez Center currently when that building was built. And that's it. Hold on. He's holding.
Good morning, Mark. You talked about the Jaquez Clubhouse, and it's partially generated. Could you elaborate just a little bit more? What will have power and what will not at the Jaquez Center?
I'll go to what has power.
Okay.
And that's mainly the kitchen refrigeration items, freezers, walk-in coolers, upright coolers. That area there has the most power coming off that generator. And then it has your basic emergency lighting throughout the building. The fitness center does not have full power of that building, and to my knowledge, dining rooms don't have full power.
Would that include hot water in the building? Because it was suggested during Ian, and there was some challenges there, that there would be hot water in case someone wanted to take a shower, which they didn't have hot water at their house.
Before I answer that, let me double check, because I think I remember getting the hot water for the shower rooms at Valencia Landing are off of a separate system than the hot water for the kitchen over there, and I believe we've got power going to those instant heats.
Okay, and one more question. Thank you for that. One more question. What exactly are we supposed to do with those strobe lights now that we have them at the house?
So if you haven't been through the strobe light on here for new people, in the existence of an emergency, your pull cord system within your units, your pendants, and those things, how they're communicated is there's exterior devices around the whole village. About every other cottage, every other villa has an external device that picks up the signal and transmits that all the way back to the gatehouse to alert us that there's a situation to go on. And so those are all operated by battery when the power goes out. Those batteries will have as little as 45 minutes and up to maybe an hour and a half before those batteries burn out. So during a power outage, if you will take the strobe light and turn it to the strobe and get this put on your front porch, it can be as simple as sitting it outside on the sidewalk right there at your front stoop where you walk in. It can be put in a front window. It can be hung by a mailbox hook on it, so that during power outage we get increased security typically, and during the instance of a hurricane, I have staff added to the drive around the village constantly during it, up to the point that the winds are not safe to. But that will alert us of what's going on. And I know I've answered several of these during storms and whatnot, where I'm out and about driving around throughout the village. She's coming to you with a mic. You want to speak up?
In the cottages, can you, when security's driving around during a storm, rather than just going on the main roads, would they be able to come in and go around the courts so that they could more easily see the strobe lights?
I will make sure we rehab that discussion this year to remind security and my staff that is on property during a power outage instance, to make sure they are fully driving into the cul-de-sacs and our dead-end areas. That has been discussed in the past on it, and I know it's part of my speech with my team when I have them here. But I'll make sure that's also part of security's.
Thanks. Could you talk to us about what John Knox Village does for the residents in regards to food?
I will. So, for anybody, food service continues in some form and manner to you throughout the whole time, unless the winds are too high, in the case of a hurricane or tornado or whatever that level is, afternoon thunderstorm. Some type of food service will continue in one of our venues or areas, whether that changes to a limited service and things of that nature. But that breakfast, lunch, dinner, don't stop.
Yes, that would apply normally when the storm is gone, but we're without power for 3, 4, 5 days. And it works beautifully. No one does it better.
If I can get you to get over here to this gentleman. I don't need it. Okay.
Hold on.
When is the portal going to be up and running for preparation of information, dissemination of information throughout the village?
I
As
do
of
not
right
have
now-
the answer to that,
Yeah.
but take his name and we'll get you an answer from a source that knows.
It's been my experience that communication works fine between 9 and 5, but 24/7 leaves much to be desired. What do you do to ensure that messages get through on weekends and at night.
So if I heard the question right, it's after hours communication at nighttime after 5 till 7 a.m. and weekend communication.
During a disaster or a storm, or just in general?
Well, both.
Okay.
Let me give you an example. I was on a flight this weekend, and my connection, because of a delay, was missed. And I started emailing security many hours in advance of my supposed arrival, and nonetheless, I got a call at 12:30 that John Knox was at the airport waiting for me.
I'll pass that off to Stan, so he can stand in and answer that for you.
I understand transportation is not what you're talking about, but when that happens with transportation, I have to figure it happens throughout the system. Maybe it doesn't, maybe it does.
Thank you. And again, we can look into that specific thing.
Being relatively new, have we ever had a situation where the sewage comes through the toilets or the showers in a power failure or a pump system failure?
In my 14 years of employment, I have not ever had a major failure of our sewer system. Individual.
Hey, it's me again.
Hi, me again.
I'm just asking you questions to make sure everybody understands
great.
everything you're talking about. You had mentioned that you've got staff on the ready during a hurricane or a disaster. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? Because if I'm not mistaken, most employees that work for John Knox Village are and must be available to help out here during, let's say, a hurricane.
And I feel like I stated that, but we are, policy-wise, staff is required to be here for their next working shift. They're required to be here for the next working shift. We make it available to them if we deem it necessary to have a place to shelter in place for our staff to come here. So that's throughout. And then Majestic Oaks staff typically shelters at Majestic Oaks if they need to be here for a 3 to 11 shift or an 11 to 7 shift, or even the 7 to 11 a.m. shift on it. Because they're 24/7, and so we do accommodations for staff to make sure that they're able to do that, because there's times during a hurricane that it's unsafe to be on the roads. There's times during a hurricane that the municipality that you live in might stop you from even getting to work because of road blockage or something of that nature. So we do make sure we think about that. I actually had my conversation in yesterday's meeting with the groundskeeper, but it's something I'll put in my June 5th whole team meeting that I'm having to talk about that same thing and what is expected of staff, because I have several new people that have not been through this yet at John Knox Village. And I stress every department goes through this to make sure that staff is aware of their requirements under our policy and procedures of what is required of them to make sure that we're taking care of you all.
Mark, in the event of a prolonged power outage, can we pick up ice in small coolers for those of us who require refrigerated medication?
My answer to that is we've done that in the past.
I believe Big Service has
Yes.
storage available for residents.
Well, we have the storage available, but I know we've also distributed ice for people.
By the way, is that a strobe or is that your Halloween decoration?
That is a strobe light that I found, and it's actually under emergency road flare of it, but it's a magnetic on the back of it. It would be very easy to put on your mailbox, because I believe most of our mailboxes, I know there's a few that may be plastic, during the times when I couldn't buy the metal ones. out there, but it would be real easy to just put on your mailbox outside. And I like it because it's orange or Halloweenish. And it does come with the button that's orange. I took a magic marker and made it visible for residents so that you can push it. The downside to it, all you have to do is hit it once and it makes it work. But the downside is there's 9 different modes to it, and it could confuse you all of how many times you have to push it to get to the end point where it actually goes off, or it actually goes to a couple solids that are at the end, and that's when you're getting to the end, and it should be a little flashlight on it now, and then it goes off. But I'm fixing to purchase a bunch of these because our occupancy rate, I hear, is going up, and we're very happy about that and thrilled about it. And so every year I lose about 15 to 20% of those through just light bulbs, inside of them going bad, things of that nature. And like I said, those became very uncost efficient to repurchase.
At-
One notice that if you have a water problem, and occasionally you do, thank you, sweetie. If we have a water problem in your house, and occasionally you do for a few hours, or in case of a major hurricane, a couple of days, it's very handy to have a bucket or two of flush water available. That keeps the toilet working just fine.
Everybody understand that?
Yep.
Yes.
As to the employees who are required to come in, are their families allowed to accompany them and come stay with them in the Barker Center?
Immediate families, not entire families, but immediate families, yes. And actually, they could bring a caged pet if they needed to. But they're responsible for the pet. They're responsible that pet needs to be kept in the cage. We provide a room for that, along with other pets that would be in that space. And then they're required to make sure that pet is taken care of and walked and all those things.
For your information, for flush water, fill your bathtub as high as it will go. Be sure the water is turned off. It's there for right next to where you need it.
Thank you.
In terms of caging your dogs, if we had to evacuate or go somewhere, I'm assuming my service dog wouldn't have to be caged.
Different rules for different.
Okay, thanks.
I have a continuation on the strobe lights. We're at the very end of Majestic Oaks Court with a long driveway. Unless someone drives down that driveway, they'll never see the strobe.
Your specific address has been talked about.
Okay.
And again, I'll make sure that security, and when I'm here with my team, that is one of the paths that you'll see headlights coming down your driveway and doing a U-turn.
Thank you.
I know exactly where you're at. Thank you. Got another hand back here that they're racing to get a mic to.
Okay. In the past, some of the flashlights and extra batteries were available to purchase in the Scoop. Will that happen this year?
I
Just a
believe the Scoop
suggestion.
always has flashlights, batteries, weather radios are always available in the Scoop, to my knowledge. All right, folks, thank you very much for attending. Thank you for everybody watching, and let's have a good, safe rest of our year.